Welcome to a look at the various different page builders that are available with WordPress. We're not going to look at all of them. There's way too many. There's about 50 different WordPress page builders that are available, but we have got a selection of them today through Divi, Elementor, and Site Origin Page Builder. Now, there's some other really good big ones out there, such as Avada. There's another one called WP Bakery Site Builder. Another really big one is Beaver Builder. So we're not going to look at all of them. Just got time this morning for just three of them. And I'll just share this screen now. Now I'm going to have a bit of trouble like working with chat today. So I've only got this one little screen as I'm staying in a hotel in Adelaide at the moment. Great internet. Problem is I just don't have a lot of screens to work with. So I'll try and answer questions as I see them pop up. In the meantime, let's get that screen shared and get it underway. That's more what we're looking for. Quick quote from Marissa Mayer, the former Google and Yahoo executive, that taking the path of least resistance isn't always some existential mistake. Sometimes saving time is just smart business. And this is my message to all those traditional Puritan WordPress developers out there who say, oh no, you should be using themes. You shouldn't be using page builders. What I say is you use the thing that's going to work best for you and it's going to save your time and get you to where you want to be as soon as you possibly can. What we're going to cover today is a bit of what my agency uses. We create a lot of websites and what we primarily use to build those websites. We'll look at Elementor and its combination with Astra themes. So it's a bit of I'll explain as we're going on what all this means. Site Origin, and we're going to look at one of their theme packs, and Divi, which kind of just sits on its own. This is brought to you by Business Station and the Digital Solutions Program from the Australian Government. It's helping small businesses to connect better with digital solutions such as websites and e-commerce. We're looking at the digital marketing and social media, data security and online privacy, that's cybersecurity kind of stuff, and also small business systems that make your small business run more effectively and more efficiently. You can see this later on YouTube through the Business Station channel, where there's hundreds of different videos from all the different providers and partners that have worked with Business Station over these years, as well as my own channel, which is called Dante and James, where you'll pick my specific style of presenting, if you like that or not. Doesn't really matter. You just pick who you really want to go with. My name, Dante St. James. I've got a very interesting little overlay on that thing there, but my business is a click starter, my own training business, DanteStJames.com, and my telecommunications business called Cellular One. If you recognize that name, Cellular One, I recently revived it from the dead and bought the name and started a new telco business based upon it. Study through the Chartered Institute of Marketing, University of New South Wales, TAFE, and I've got some professional certifications from Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, HubSpot, Shopify. I've lost track of them all, but I've got about 87 or 88 different certifications. That's not important. What is important, that if you're in the Northern Territory, I'm part of the roadshow to do with October Business Month coming up next month. So I'm very excited to get to Nullarbor, Tennant Creek, Alice Springs, Catherine, and into Darwin as well. And some other little programs that I work with, including Digital Springboard from Google and the Australian Government's NEIS program as well. Enough about me, more about me. First website I built was in 1996 using Netscape Communicator, which was the first kind of, I guess, drag and drop and code side by side with a live builder that was available as far as I knew. Now, in the last probably 4 or 5 years, we've been building about 300 websites a year, hosting and maintaining right now about 600 of those, although it's probably a lot more. It's probably close to 700 now. So I haven't really updated that number in probably a year and a half. Over this whole time, built 4,000 plus websites since 1996 in various platforms, not all in WordPress. WordPress has really only been a feature of our stable probably in the last, I'd say probably 5 years since WordPress really entered what we're doing. Before that was on the Joomla content management system primarily. So how our websites work these days, about 80% of what we do is built in Divi. And there's a simple reason for that. It's faster, it's quicker to work on, it's easier to train our clients on how to use, and it's just really quick for us to build a site in. It's something which we're very good at now, very used to it, very quick at, and it's for various reasons, it's our one of choice. Secondly, we build sites in Shopify, which is a completely different program altogether, but that helps to roll out really quick, really effective, and quite attractive online shopping and e-commerce experiences as well. And then there's Elementor, Elementor. About 5% of the sites we build every year involve Elementor, usually because we've inherited a site from someone else and it's built in Elementor. So we'll actually build and work with that as well. And then finally, in the last 5% is usually Joomla websites. You've never heard of that. It's probably the second or third biggest web builder in the world. No one really hears of it because it's all about Divi and Wix and Squarespace and Shopify these days. But Joomla is still a very big player. And even though they only maybe have about 3% of all websites in the world, whereas WordPress is like well over 40% by now, it's still something which comes up a lot. In fact, we've got more sites that we host and maintain on Joomla than what we do on Divi and WordPress at the moment, only because that's what we used to do. So what we're going to look at today is using the Astra starter template mountain, which uses Elementor to build it with. So just as a brief explanation, when you get WordPress is like your mobile phone. Then what you have to do, you have to install an operating system on it. And the operating system on this particular phone is called Elementor. Then we can do in a lot of phones, you can lay like a design over the top of it. So you can have a launcher, especially in Android phones. And that would be what we call Astra. Astra allows us to build things out into a preset way. And then Elementor allows us to make changes to that, all within WordPress. Then we're going to look at Site Origin Page Builder. So Site Origin is very similar to Elementor. You install it in as a plugin. So same with Elementor as a plugin. So it gives extra functionality to WordPress. Then you have to put in a theme on top of that. So we're going to make it a lot easier to move that forward, because building something from scratch in Elementor or Site Origin actually takes a long time. So if you do something like getting a preset theme, like the Astra one is the mountain template for Elementor, and in this case, the consultant site pack, it allows you to download an entire site all in its entirety with all the stuff and bits and bobs and extra things intact. So you can then just go, okay, I'm taking this style and I'm going to change it into what I want to change it into. So what we've done this morning is done all that pre-work just to get you to the point where we can show you how it works inside and how you can make changes to it. But bear in mind that these are quite involved installations when you have to start from scratch. And then finally, Divi, which is really quick to install and really quick to work with, which is why we use it. And I haven't even chosen anything yet, haven't even started. All I've done is installed the theme, and then I'm going to show you how to work with it from there. So number one, let's look at Astra and Elementor and an imported theme I brought from Astra to get us started with all that. So what I've got to say about installation with Elementor-based websites is it does take time. You have to learn from basics how to work with the plugin being Elementor, then the theme, which is on top of it. Then you've got to go and download the whole of the theme if it's a free one, but if it's not, they're paid ones often. And if it's paid ones, well, then you go, well, what do I do? Where do I go? I've got this paid version I could use. Then you got to pay for it and actually get it downloaded. It's very involved with the installation. Now, after you've done about 5 or 6 Elementor sites, it becomes easier. Updating wise, whilst it's not the simplest and easiest website designer to update, it's actually not particularly difficult to update your pages and update stuff on your pages. The SEO impact, though, of Elementor is a little lighter than the other two. It's built to operate quite quickly, but it's still like every page builder has what we call a bit of bloat in the code. The code just makes pages load a little bit slower than if you're doing sort of plain HTML, but who does that anymore these days? And Site Origin 2 starter pack, that is just as difficult to install, if not a little bit more complicated. The updates are a little bit more complicated as well, even though it's quite a familiar and fairly intuitive interface to use. It's just a little bit more difficult than Elementor, and the SEO impact is around about the same, but possibly a little bit more than what Elementor's is. And with Divi's gone through a big changes. It's the quickest to install, that's for sure. Quickest to learn how to update, because it's like a live page, change it on the live front of your website sort of way of working. And the SEO impact is a little bit more, although this will come down over the next month because they've just installed some new features which really do bring down that code bloat and make it a lot quicker to work with. So I'm just going to quickly stop sharing that, and we're going to look at some of these live. So I've done some pre-installations to give an idea of what these are all going to look like for you and how you're going to work with them. So let's get that shared up again. And Got some great light in this room today. I've got a big bay window looking out over a park in Modbury in South Australia. It's just quite lovely. All right, here we go. So this is the front of a mountain theme that I installed. That's all part of Elementor. Now, for me to go through the process of installing all this would have been just honestly too painful. I'll take up probably about half of this session just going through the installation and the updating process just to get it to this point. So this is a preset theme, all pre-built out. And the idea of what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to change it into what we want to change it into. In the back end of WordPress, if you've never seen that before, this is probably not necessarily the right session for you, but that's okay. We can probably sort of work around and explain what we're doing as I'm going. Now, what you'll find with most of these page builders is when you go to the front, you've got, a full website here. It's all laid out. It's all very pretty. You can go from page to page and do the about page, and it's got all these pre-set up ready to go. All you now need to do is fill in your details. And how you do that is you click on here, edit with Elementor, and you can either go into the theme builder or site settings. So I'm just going to edit the page by clicking on edit with Elementor. Now what's going to give me is a little panel on the left, which gives me all the different blocks that I can insert. But over on the right, it gives me a live version of the site that I can make changes to. So for example, if I wanted to change the background of this particular section, I click on here, which gives me that little dots at the top. It gives me then a panel on the left, which lets me play with the settings of this whole blue section. So that whole blue section, I'm not seeing a photo there. So I'm going to look under style, and that will give me the style of this section. So the section which, if you can see it, is surrounded by blue. Now, once I go in there, notice I can actually choose another image. There's an image library in there, or I can upload something on my own. So let's have a look at what we may be able to upload. If I've got some pictures that I might be able to use. Maybe a door handle from a site that I've just been working on. So if I insert that in, it's now going to update the background with the photo that I want to have. So it's nice and instant for you. Now, you don't just leave it at that and go out and say, yes, I'm done. You need to update. So I update generally as I'm going so that it can show up as updated. So this is giving me a live picture of what it really looks like. Now I can go into each of these little sections here. So notice how as I move around the site, it highlights and put a box around the different sections I'm working with. And this is telling me that this is the section that this is what parts, if you make changes, are going to be affected by the changes you make. So for instance, this multi-purpose template, if I click on the right here with a little edit button, it gives me then the title over here that I can replace. So I can say, welcome to my world of. And then once I've finished with that, update. Although you don't have to update after everything, you can just move down the page and update when you've done a fair few of them. But I'm always losing internet connections and computers shutting down and things, so I don't like to take too many risks. Then if I go create your website, I'm going to now look at, in the create your website, I'm going to change that to of wonderful website design. So as I'm going around and changing everything. Now, when I go into these sections, I don't just change the title itself. I can change things such as, where that text links to, or if I can go into these HTML tags, I can show that to H1, like a full heading or a minor heading. I can change the alignment around to sit it in different positions. I can also change the style, which is changing things like the color. So if I wanted to change the text color, say, to be able to be sort of like a horrible green, not going to stand out too well. Or if I want to go all the way down to black, there you go. I can do that as well to make something that shows out well. And then in advanced, there's like lots of different things like margins, spacing around objects you can work with. You can put a motion effect. In other words, you can make something have an animation on its way in. So I can make it zoom. Let's make it bounce in. So it gives that, so you can see that bouncing. Or you can have it do something like shaking. So as it comes in and it enters, it shakes, and I can make that delay happen at some point. So for instance, if you wanted to draw attention to something, maybe 10 seconds after people drop into the site, maybe the services button, which I'll click on here. And if I then see it, how it's automatically updated over here to be the service button, I'll go advanced, go for my motion effects, my animation, and I'm going to, no, it won't let me animate. Yes, it will. I'm going to make that bounce in, but I'm going to delay that until, so milliseconds. So it's a 1,000 milliseconds. So it's going to be 10,000 milliseconds. So what it's going to do is going to wait 10 seconds after the page is loaded to start loading that. So if I just get out of here, update that, exit Outlook to view the page. And as I'm seeing here, notice it hasn't come in yet. They're going to wait 10 seconds and all of a sudden that button is going to jump in. So it allows you to do things like draw attention to calls. There you go. Services just popped up. It's calls to action, that kind of thing. So as you see, I've made those changes. I didn't save the background image. I should have. See if it comes in. Nope. Sometimes there's caching that goes on as well that just holds on to things a lot longer than it should be. So as I go down all of these, I can change anything I like pretty much. So in this service here, I've got the option to change this. I've got to change this. All these sort of things as I hover over them, I've got the opportunity to change. Now, notice how in here, I'm not getting the opportunity to change these in particular. They're being inherited from somewhere. So I need to work out what that is. So if I go style, so that's giving me a background for this guy. I can change the background of that, but notice there's not really a lot that I can change in there. That's because that's being inherited from somewhere else on the website. So I'm not going to go too deeply into that kind of stuff because you could choose any one of the different free or paid templates that you can load all the information in from Elementor or Elementor's many partners. Say for instance, Astra is one of them, which is the one I've used, but there's many others as well. You can go to places like Theme Forest, or you can just search for Elemental themes and you'll be able to see the different kind of people who make themes to work with these particular page builders. So going down the page, if I look at, say, this call to action, I want to change something in there. So I can go, okay, instead of contact, I might want to change that button to say something else. So I now go click on the button. I've got all my options over here. So I'm going to make the link go to maybe my website, if you wanted it to do that. You can change that text to let's go. And then the style of it, rather than being the style that it's got, I can make it so that that style is more, filling in a color or something, or even changing the font that is in use. For the moment, it's using just the default font, but I can change that to another font if I wish to. Let's just say Adamina is one of my favorite fonts at the moment in the Google font settings. So I can change in the size of that. So I got the weight, I can make it thicker. Sorry, stop talking, Google. Wasn't talking to you. So I can make the weight of that text a bit more bold so it shows up more. And I can make the transformation be, I don't know, uppercase or lowercase or normal when, for instance, I hover over it. And I can change the size of that text, so make it bigger, so it's a much bigger button. So lots of little different things you can change there. And once you finish, you update and that page is now changed. Now, the other thing is, of course, you can do, if I said, I don't want any of these photos here, I just want to, change this. So I want to change the photos. I click on here and you can see it's an image gallery. So when you've got an image gallery, you can add more images in there. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I click on the edit, it allows me to add more photos to the gallery if I want. So I can add the photos of these lovely people, add them to the gallery, and now they'll be in the gallery as well. So insert it. See in there, I've got that. So I'll go update, pop out of the gallery. Come on, I want to get out of the, there we go. So I have to move the photo, my little video. So you can see the gallery is now gone bigger. So I can move across the gallery through all the different photos of it. Naturally, you want your photos to be in nice, even ratios. Otherwise, you get this problem. You go from very large photos to very small ones. But if I don't even want that section, I can get rid of it. So I can literally just go, look at that and go, no, don't want any of that. I'm just going to get rid of that whole section. Bang, gone. And then I can get rid of this one if I want to as well, or just go backwards. So Control Z or Command Z if you're using a Mac will help you to get backwards. And that's pretty much dealing with a page in Elementor. Now, if you wanted to go and build extra pages, that's all done outside of Elementor in the actual WordPress installation. So I've exited to the WordPress back of house dashboard. I was just working on that page, but I can then go into any of the other pages, or I can add a new page now. Now, if I want to do it with starter templates, which is what I've got, I can pick up any of these starter templates from here and start working with that. Or what I really want to do, because I'm working with this wonderful gift over here, I can go wonderful gift and then pick a preset page that they've already made. So they've got one, say projects. So I'm going to take the projects and I'm going to base my new page on that. Importing. It imports that page and adds it into my list of pages, and then I can start working with that as well. And naturally, I'm going to have to update things like the menu, which is a different thing in WordPress altogether, that you just make changes with to suit whatever your new pages happen to be. But once I get back in there, so for instance, doing that, I would go into appearance menus in the back of WordPress. And then I can add in any additional pages I may have that appear over the left, or go to view all. They appear over there. I can add them into the menu and then even nest these different menu items underneath each other if I need to. Let's pop out there, so I don't really need to do that. This is just importing now, so I'm going to edit it with Elementor. And then I can go forward and make the changes I need to make. There you go. And I've got the page I need to do, the projects. Now I just go around and change out all the things I want to change. These are all pretty much just all one great big gallery. So I can play around with all those X sections and then make changes I need to. And one of the easier things to do is probably if you want to duplicate pages rather than just starting new pages all from scratch. So what I would do is probably get rid of that page because it was, I've done nothing in it, and take these pages and then duplicate them. So that duplicate them, you can't do that normally with Elementor. You've got to do that with an extra plugin such as Clone or Ghost, Clone Ghost or something like that, I think it's called. And you can then just take it and then duplicate that page, give it a new name, and then edit from the start to the bottom. And that's what we usually do when we're working with Elementor to make things quick. We get just a few basic pages set up, then all the new pages we build are always based on a copy of an existing page that's already there. So it makes the whole thing move that much quicker. Then after we've got that, we move on to be able to working with our friends at at Site Origin. Now, Site Origin is a lighter, much quicker page builder you can work with. This particular page builder, what it does, it allows you to, again, import these themes and import these templates. So some of them are quite beautiful. This is a free one called Consultant, and you can work with that the way you need to work with it. Just hold 1 second. I've just got housekeeping just calling for me. I won't be a second. My apologies for that. I forgot to put the do not disturb sign on the door. Coming back to Site Origin. So this is, again, it went through the same, very, very similar process as Elementor to getting it installed, which is a fairly involved process if you've not worked with WordPress page builders installing these things before. It took me a while to go, okay, first I need to install the plugin, which is Site Origin itself. Then you go and look, okay, I'm looking for a theme. But then you go, well, I don't want just the theme. I want to have the theme kind of pre-set up for me so I can then make changes along the way. So in much the same way that we did with Elementor, we now do with Site Origin. So in Site Origin, I've got a nice complete page. Like I've actually imported a whole site. So let's just tap around a bit. I've got services, got statistics. So it's all in one great big long page. How they've done it, go to the blog, go out to the Power of Focus article on the blog. So you start to see how it all looks. It's actually quite a pretty theme. It's very, nicely blocky laid out and really well designed. So you can start off with a very pretty site, then you can make changes to it. So in this one, while I'm here with this front page, I'm going to go to here, the live editor. So once I've logged into the back end, I get that little extra bar at the top. So what it gives me now is a version of my site here on the right. And then this looks very familiar, doesn't it? It looks very much the same as what we saw in Elementor, but a little bit different in that this goes down to the different sections of the page. One of the easiest things you'll see that do, so if I go down to the odometers, I can duplicate any of these little areas. So duplicate allows me to put 2 of them. So I've got now 2 odometers, which are number 1 and number 2. So I don't need 2 of those. So I'm just going to delete one of them and go back to having just the 1. Then I can move down to the Site Origin headline. So I can look in here and click on it, and it allows me to then make changes to the elements in it. So the elements such as the headline. Now, this is where the difference is between, say, Elementor and Site Origin. Elementor is very much what you see is what you get. You just do what you want to do, and it makes it happen. In Site Origin, it's a little bit more difficult. You're going to have to play with sometimes some code. So this is what this is a little bit of code that says to make the what bold, but the they say not bold. So for instance, let's look at what that actually looks like. So what they say. So the what is bold and the they say isn't. So I can make changes with that. I can edit that row. So I'm going to do that, which brings me to a little bit nicer, but it just plays with widths and margins. And you can see how this is a little bit more complicated than what Elementor is. And I can get down to the testimonials slider here, and I can then edit that to then add different testimonials. So we've got James Smith, Jane Adams, Michael Clay. I can duplicate Michael Clay and then change Michael's name. Oops, click on that to my name. And I can be an executive at Clickstarter. And then choose the photo of myself. Got one here somewhere. This will be funny. I recently deleted all my downloads, so I'm actually running out of photos on here. Well, looks like the photo of me is going to be the photo of a door. There we go. So it works all the regular WordPress uploaders and all that sort of thing. So I put the photo of me in there. I can now say I'm done. I could have changed that, but now it'll show as I go to the testimonials. I got James Smith. I can then go through the, no, I don't want to play with it. I just want to work it. There you go, Dante. So I've got my one in there as well. So the ideal with Site Origin, much like it is with Elementor, is to don't try to build something from scratch, because that's really what's there for the pros who really know what they're doing and know how to work with not just code, but things like padding and margins and how these different things work together to build a complete site. So as you go down the page, you can then update any of those little things. So the Site Origin headline here, if I go to edit it, so it's not a completely visual builder. It's not like you're going in here and clicking on this and going, that's what I want to edit, and it edits it live. It's actually going to do it in a box where you can't see what the effect is until you've finished it. So I can say, get a new website for your business, but I can't see that happening live. And so it doesn't give me that visual reference. So if I go done, then I can see that it's live as it reloads, get a new website for your business. Great, what I want to see, but it's also filled up the full width of it. So I can't see the impact of that until such time as I refresh the page. So I go here, I can try and reduce that down to the font size 5 EM. I'm going to reduce it to 4, and hopefully that's going to look a little bit better. So we get done, it reloads again, much better. So it is workable and it is able to be used. It's not completely difficult to work with. It's just that you're not working with it visually. It's right there and then where you can see it. Now, one good feature they've got here, and Elementor had this as well, and I didn't actually show you. Up here, you can see what it looks like on different devices. So let's go back up to our very top of our page. Oops, don't want to update you. I just want to see you. I can now see what that looks like on a tablet. So the layout's a little bit different on a tablet. And then what it looks like on a mobile phone. So I can see that despite this being what we regard as a responsive design, the main problem we've got here is that it's not so responsive that it makes it really good on every different kind of device. It's actually like way too stretched out. So you're not like, you're going to see about from here to about here on a mobile phone. So it's going to look a bit janky on a mobile. using the menu is kind of hidden. You can't really see it. It's just not going to look particularly perfect. So you can make some difference changes depending on each section. So I can edit this and make the changes based upon the mobile layout. So I can lay different paddings for that, look at some different design elements just to make it look better on a mobile. But the reality is this is not a particularly good page builder for making very different layouts between mobile and then back to desktops and tablets and stuff like that. Elementor has a lot more features for this and does allow you to tweak things very, very finely down on whether you want it to show on different devices. Divi, however, for me, does this a lot better, and it just does it in a much easier way that's much more intuitive, I guess, and shows you in a very short glance what things look like. So I go back to this. Yep, I can see that it looks like it, but notice how it's not taking me to the top. So I have to go back to the top again. Then I look at the desktop and everything's back to normal again. So you can see the different sizes. You can then change the layout of this. So if I want to browse the pre-built layouts directory, now what this is if I'm looking for more layouts such as different templates and different themes, if I'm not happy with that one, I can pick from a lot of other different ones. Now, not all these are going to be free. These are the particular free ones that you can pick from. And then if I can take that and go, I want to do something with pools, then I can completely replace that with the new one. So I can import and export that. So I want to see what it looks like, insert it. And it's now going to insert that dentist layout. I'm going to replace the current. Yes, I'm sure. And let's see what it does. So I've completely replaced everything I've done with this new layout. So it's got a different set of things around the page. And I say, oh, I don't really like that either. Now, this is one of the things that Site Origin's good at, is that you can change this on a page by page basis. You can basically make every page of your website a different theme if you like. Probably not a good idea, because that will make the site look really, really weird and a little bit too chaotic. But if I wanted to say, I don't know, let's just pop over to this one. I'm going to insert that one as my replacement. I can sort of work around and go, okay, I can work around and look for a particular layout that works for me. Problem is that they don't always work particularly well with everything else. So I can add, they've got a Google Maps here that you can insert. There's lots of different features you can do in here. I guess the problem that you've got here is that once you make changes, you lose all your previous material. So all the changes that I made or any adjustments I made when I first played with this are gone because I replaced this with a different layout. So I go and replace it back to the layout I had, which was this one here. Replace it. So whilst it will take me back to the original template I had, it lost all the changes I may have made. So I'm back to scratch again. So it's a good way of going back to scratch and starting again with a template if you messed with it too much. The only problem is that it's going to be a bit of a mess when it comes to you trying to save your work. It's not going to save your work if you go and wipe out the page altogether. So it gives you a sort of a warning. So that's a look in the back of Site Origin Page Builder. Again, I reiterate that this took a while to get to that point of installing, getting the template in there, making sure everything worked, and then knowing how to use it. We don't use Site Origin at all. I inherited probably one site a while ago that used Site Origin. And after we sort of looked at how the page builder works and the fact the client wanted lots of changes as we were going, we found it was going to be much, much easier just to get them to rebuild it in a different site builder and make it easier for them to use in something like Divi or Elementor. Which, speaking of Divi, I've got Divi set up in another browser tab over here. I'm going to remove that because we're in the back end. So there is no front end built yet for Divi, because Divi works a little bit differently than what Elementor and Site Origin do. Site Origin and Elementor, they are both plugins, and plugins just add functionality to a WordPress website. They don't add design to a WordPress website. You then have to get a theme that works with either Elementor or Site Origin to make it able to be built with. So what I'm doing here is build with Divi, which has its own built-in stuff. Now, I've got the premium version of Divi because we make so many of these websites every year. So I've got the little code that allows me to add the premium features. Now, if I go around Divi, let's pop around in this site. That's Site Origin. I need the actual Divi backend. Thank you. There we go. In the Divi backend, I've got this Divi menu, and in here there is all the general things that you might need to set, such as the logo. So if I wanted to upload a logo, I could do that from here. Let me find a logo to upload first. I've got a little one here somewhere. There we go. This one. I'll take that one. Set that as the logo. And then under update, so if you do choose to use Divi, don't go and pay for it. I can send you the stuff if you let me know. So I'll give you my email address at the end. You can send me to if you'd like to get the downloadable file and the code. The code's unlimited, so they don't mind if I share it. The updates, I put in my username and my API key, which is part of what I'll give you when you email me for this information, and allows me to have full access to everything that Divi can do. Now, to start the process of building a page on Divi, I go into my pages here on WordPress. Now, so far, it gave me the 2 regular WordPress sample pages. I now want to create a home page. So let's go and create a home page. Now, bear in mind, there are no pages on this website that are readable yet. I've yet to create the first one. So I go and create home, and I say, yep, what I want to do is use the Divi Builder. So it's going to go, oh, okay, I've now saved that there is a home page. Click again for Divi Builder, and it gives me a bunch of options. And these options include the ability to make a page from scratch or take a tour. I can make a page from scratch. I can choose a pre-made layout from a gallery of different built-in templates that Divi has, or I can clone a page that I've already worked with. Now, I can't really clone a page because I haven't built one yet. So let's just go and look at the pre-made layouts. So in here, I've got a bunch of pre-made sort of themes and layouts that have multiple pages to them. So for instance, if I was looking to do this coffee shop one, if I tap on that, it then gives me a bunch of layouts for all the different pages on that particular theme. So I can go, okay, I can have a landing page, which is this one, or I can have the regular home page design, which is this one. I can sort of scroll down there and see what it's like, or view a whole live demo about it. If I look through that, I might want a guide. So they've got basically a home page, a landing page, a menu page, a shop page, a guide page, contact page, a blog page, and an about page. Probably most of the pages you're ever going to need if you don't have an e-commerce site. I'm not really happy with that particular one, so I'm going to move on. Go down my list and see if there's something which sort of grabs me. So there's a yoga studio, there's a wedding planner, there's a hotel, there's copywriter, a florist, a service software as a service company. There's lots of them. Let's go right down. There's tons. So when you have that premium login, that premium code, you'll actually be able to get in and use all of these different layouts. I've used various ones of these. I'm at the point now we mostly build them from scratch, but you can still use some really great ones. So for instance, if you're a restaurant, you've got the Divi Bistro layout, which has got a home page like this, or you can go for a landing page, which I think is a bit prettier. And you can change all those different individual things in there, the colors, the shapes, the images that go in there, all that stuff. Now, I've got a whole bunch of stuff from a sliding door company that I've been working with lately. So I'm going to pick something that sort of suits them. So I go down here looking for something a bit more trade-ish. Is that a word? It's looking law firm. Jenny's Travels, not quite. There's a cute dog. Let's see what we can find that looks a bit more like it's a tradey kind of site. This construction one looks very tradey. Might pick this one up, eh? So that may not be the colors. Don't worry, we can change all those colors later on. That's the landing page. Let's see what the home page looks like. Like that. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Might take that. I'm going to import that page. Now, this doesn't import all the pages. It only imports the one page you're working on, which in our case right now is the home page. So use this layout. It loads it in. Shouldn't take too long. And once it loads it in, you can start making those changes that you want to make. So it's going to bring up that version of it in just a second. Okay, great. So now we've got that there. We can now, in the same way as Elementor, now notice there's no side panel because we don't need one, because we're going to be working live with the layout we've got here. And notice as I move things around, different things light up. Little boxes go around things. There's like the blue box, which indicates that anything I make changes with under those little gears will affect that whole blue section. And that's literally called a section. Then I go down to here and I find a green one. So this green one is telling me any changes I make here in the settings will affect everything that's within that green box. And then I can move down and we've just got like the module, and the module is the gray bit. So everything I do in here will affect just what's in that gray box. So the smallest element you work with a module here, then you can work with a row, which is the green, and then a section, which is the blue. Now I can, and that's how it's lit up and it's got this little shading. I can move that padding around to make it bigger or smaller, depending on how I want it to sit. And it does it live for me. So 8 is about even top and bottom. I can change the wording simply by typing over the top of it and going Dante's Inferno. Or what's probably the safest way to do it is if you click on the little gear and you go into it and it gives you an actual text editor here. So I can then play with the text a little bit more. Whilst I'm in this box, I've got access to a few other things like the background behind where it says Dante's Inferno. I can add my own background color behind it, like black or yellow if I really want to get ugly, or nothing at all. I don't really need a background there, but I can add one in there if I want. I can also add in gradient. So let's just say I'm going to pick a gradient like that. I can change my colors, change the direction that the gradient goes in. So it gives you a little bit of extra design. Or I can put a photo, like an image in the background if I wanted to. Let's pick out an image, let's say this guy. And it puts that image in the background of that particular element. Now, naturally, this is over designed like crazy. So I want to just, get out of there. I don't really want to do any of that stuff. I don't want any sort of backgrounds there whatsoever. Funnily enough, you can put a video background in there too. So I can have something which is just a link to a video on Vimeo or on YouTube, or you can actually load up a video to play in the background too. I can add a link to the text, but if I really want to play with the design, such as I don't really like that font, then I'm looking at design. So remember, we're only dealing with this area here. So in the design, I can change the text or the heading text. Now, this is heading text. Notice how as I go down here, it then lights up the thing that's relevant to it, heading text. So that's currently set at H1, which I want, but I don't want this Rubik font. I want something else. So I'm going to move it down to my font of the moment, Adamina, and I can decide whether I want that to be regular or bold. I can make it all uppercase if I want to, offset it, or change the text color altogether if I really wish to. It's going to change that to a color that sort of matches a bit more closely. Yep, there you go, the yellow that you used in the site. And then I can change the size of it, bigger, smaller. And there's a trick here. I can now see what that 78, so if I go up to, let's say 100, which is going to look fine on the desktop, but it's going to look crazy stupid on the tablet or on the mobile. So if I go, let's see, the tablet, yeah, it's not so bad. It's automatically downsized it to 44. And the mobile, it's also downsized it to a much more sensible size. So that's pretty good. It hasn't changed it across all those things. So every single item you update can be adjusted for what it's going to look like on a mobile or a tablet. Even if I look at the color here, I can make the color of the text be different on mobile, desktop, and tablet. So let's give that a try. If I want it on desktop to yellow, I can say that on tablet, it's going to be green, and on mobile phone, it's going to be orange. Let's make it purple just to really annoy people, because that just looks terrible. So if I save that and get out of that box, it'll show me this, and I can look at this little panel down here, which is going to allow me to preview my site in different things. So I've got the full width, full website version. I've got the tablet version. Remember, we did that as green. And then the mobile version, which has got purple on it. This essentially allows you to do something as crazy as make a completely different layout for different kinds of things. So let's go back to here. I want to look at this whole section. Maybe I don't want this to show on mobile phones at all. I just want it to show on desktop because it's just too big and clunky. On a mobile, it's just not going to, it's going to lose all its impact. So I can go to my section settings, click on the gears and go to advanced, and that will allow me to pick a visibility, and I can disable it on the phone and on the tablet if I wish, and just have it show on the desktop. So that when I then go to view it in these others, so I'm just going to have to change a quick setting here. If I go to the phone setting, that module disappears and it goes straight to these guys. So making this allows you to really stipulate what you want to have as the layout for the different kinds of views you have. So whether that's mobile, desktop, desktop, mobile, and tablet, you have different settings for all of those. So I'm going to pop out of that and go back to where we were, to the desktop. And I can then go down and make changes everywhere else I want to. So in these lists of things, remember, I've got the section, I've got the row, which affects that row, this row here. And then in the rows, I've got these different little modules. So this little module, I might want to change, say, that little icon. So I can just click on here, and it's got the building construction, which you can see. So I can move this little window around so I can move it to where I need it to be. If I go, okay, building construction's fine, the words are fine, but I want to change the icon, image and icon. There we go, there's the icon. Now, that's actually an image, not an icon. So I can make changes and make it an actual icon that's going to show there. So there's a list of icons that are built into the site, or there can be some more, you can load more in. I just want to make that maybe a little present. So it's now put that little present in there. It's also chosen a color for it. Now, to make that, so notice how these don't show up the same size now. If I go design and then image and icon, so remember, this is just playing with what it looks like, the stuff that's in there. This plays with what it looked like. So the image and icon, I just don't want to have that color. I want it to be something like, not maybe sort of gray like the other ones are. So if I go on here, I can notice how I've got the pick black, but I can change the opacity of it to something lighter that now fits with the other icons in the site. I can also then change the icon to a different size. So I can then go, okay, the icon size can be based upon a text size, or I can change it based on something else like the body text size. Let's see if that works. No, I've not actually done that before, so it's only a first time for me. Image and icon, we can make it an icon that's got a circle in it. So the circle can be black and then have the icon be white in the middle of it. And I can show a border around it, all that sort of thing, and make those things a little bit bigger and a bit smaller. So I've made that side there. So it now has changed the icons. I can change all these to icons, or I can just go back to replacing this with an image like it had in the first place. Image and icon, turn off the icon, replace with an image that's already there, or maybe I can replace with some other image such as the Real Wave logo. That's a bit too small. Let's go back to one of these guys because they're probably the right size. Yep, and it's the right size. Now I can also say that I just don't want that section to show at all, so I'm just going to get rid of it. And it just goes straight from here to here, and I continue building on what I want to build on. If I want to change colors of anything, I can just simply go to the section which is the color I want to change. So I don't want that big yellow area. It's got a background color of yellow. I might change that now to blue. I've now got a blue background or purple, whatever the color is you think is going to be most appropriate for your particular needs. So you can change any element you want to change just by either hovering on it and then clicking the gears, or in some cases you can just go to a section and just double click. So for instance, I'm in this 8VW area here, this whole area. I might want to change the background color of that. So I just double click and it opens up the options for that area. So I can change the background color to something like that. So now it's gray in the background, or I can make it just a little bit less like that red, but then turn down how red it's going to be. And naturally, you can change any of the writing to whatever you want to change it to. Buttons can go to wherever you want them to. Just double click on a button. You've got the text for it. You've got the link of where it's going to go to. You can change the design of it. In the button, you can change it to a custom design to have the red in it, or let's say white with a red background. Button background is red. And then I might go, well, you know what? I actually want the border width to also be red. And I want to have a button border around it. So the border, I want to have sort of rounded corners. So if I do this, look at that, it makes the corners rounded. So you can change lots of little bits and pieces to what you want to do based upon this base design that you have been able to use. So you've just worked with a basic design and you make those changes. Now, if I then publish this page, it now publishes as it is, as in its ugly state that I've created. And I can then exit this visual builder. So remember when I went to edit the visual editor. Now I exit the visual builder, and then I've got the live site just like that. So I can see what I've done, the changes I've made, and move around to the next page that I might want to go and play with, which is a sample page. I can now then go and enable the visual builder on this page to change the layout of what it is. Now, of course, once I build a page that I like, and it's one of my content pages, I can always pick up in the pages and duplicate it. So I duplicate not by here, but I create a new page and I go, let's just call this page duplication. In case you want to take me on a tour, because it thinks I'm new. Use my visual builder. So again, and now what it's going to do is ask me if I want to set up a new page from scratch, whether I want to choose a pre-made layout, which I can do, or I can now clone a page that I've already built, which is the home page. Any moment now, here we go. So it's going to create an exact copy of the home page in a new page. And then I can change this around to what I want to have on this particular page. So I want it to start at this sort of level, maybe next level down, actually. I want to get rid of all that and start here. So if I then made all the changes I want to make and then publish it, then that becomes my second page. And the main thing I need to do after that is just tell the menu now where I need to point everything to. So these are basic WordPress things that we need to do, is say the menu, okay, at the moment your menu looks weird. It's got like sample page and uncategorized and all that. I need to go to my menus and then tell the menu what to do. So I'm going to call this a main menu. I'm going to call it the primary menu. I'm going to create the menu first, and then I'm going to add some pages to it. So I want the home, duplication, and that's it, added to that menu. To the primary, save. And one other little thing I have to do. Now, this is where there's step-by-step instructions through Elegant Themes, who owns Divi. It'll tell you these different little steps. I also need to put a setting that says that in the main menu, it needs to recognize that the home page is a static page, not a latest post page. So if I just go straight to that website now, I will actually be able to see, let's go here, view the site. Now I'll have the correct menu. So up here, I've got now duplication and home. They're both there now. And I've got the home page showing up as the home page. So I don't expect you to remember all those little bits. There's ASBAS, the new, Digital Solutions 7-hour engagement program. You can actually book time with myself or one of the others who work in things like Divi, Site Origin, or Elementor to do that with. But overall, what you get is the idea that you can make these changes yourself. WordPress doesn't have to be working with big bad themes that you don't know how to work with. You can then work, and then it's very hard to change things on those pages. You can work with these page builders that allow you to just literally change what you want to change by hitting a button, opening up something you want to change by hovering on it, and then changing it, saving it, and having it do what you want it to do. What's going on here? There we go. It's in there somewhere. There we go. So then you can make those changes, whether it's in Divi, whether it's in Site Origin, where you can make the changes the same way, or in Elementor, where you can make the changes on a live version of the site, just like you can in all the others. Remember, going back to the beginning where we made these things all wiggle and jiggle, you do that on the others too. Site Origin doesn't have quite as many free things that allow you to do that, but Divi's got all those same kind of wiggles as well. So it just comes down to really what is the particular, page builder that suits you, that works for you, and you feel most comfortable with. And also, bear in mind, the one you can get some support with. They've all got excellent support. Elementor has brilliant support. Divi has great support as well, as long as you're a paying member. I would say that if you wanted to get all the massive support, Elementor is probably used a little bit more by web designers than what Divi is. Divi is probably used more by agencies, I guess, like my one. Like, we like to use it because it's very simple to use. But then you will find what you will find, and there's free versions of that. Now, if you'd like to get the download of Divi for free, as well as the premium code, please email me at that email address, dante@clickstarter.com.au, and I'll be able to help you out with that. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, stalk away all you want. LinkedIn's probably the best place to get me. So I'm much more active there, even though I work for Facebook. Just don't tell them. I'm much more active on LinkedIn because I work in a business to business environment. Don't forget, this will be available as well on YouTube a little bit later on today, and both my own channel, Dante St. James, and on the YouTube channel for Business Station as well. In the meantime, though, I'd like to thank you for taking some time out of your business today to work on your business. From Adelaide, where I'm currently on a little bit of a work trip, to you in Western Australia, Queensland, and the Northern Territory, have a fantastic week. And I really do hope that you can continue to invest in your business the way that you have been. I'll see you hopefully in the next one.